Hi friends, welcome to lesson 30 Constitutional Safeguards, National and State Level Welfare Schemes for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes. Introduction. The Indian Constitution has provided several provisions for the protection and promotion of the interests of the citizens of the country and especially weaker sections. In conformity with the directive principles of state policy, social justice has been declared as the most significant goal of development. More than 7 decades, to be precise 75 years, of planning, multiple programs and schemes have been launched with the objective of improving the socio-economic conditions of weaker sections. Let us now discuss what are the objectives of this lesson. So, after completion of this lesson, you will be able to describe the constitutional safeguards for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. You will be able to explain various national and state level schemes for women and children. Let us begin with constitutional provisions for scheduled castes. Scheduled castes are those castes or races in the country that suffer from extreme social, educational and economic backwardness arising out of age-old practice of untouchability and certain others on account of lack of infrastructure facilities and geographical isolation, and who need special consideration for safeguarding their interests and for their accelerated socio-economic development. These communities were notified as scheduled castes as per the provisions contained in clause 1 of article 341 of the Constitution. The deep concern of the framers of the Constitution for the upliftment of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other backward classes is reflected in the elaborate constitutional mechanism set up for their upliftment. Some of the constitutional provisions for the safeguard of the interests of scheduled castes are, let us discuss some of them. Article 16 4A speaks of reservation in matters of promotion to any class or classes of posts in the services under the state in favor of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes which are not adequately represented in the services under the state. Article 17 abolishes untouchability. Article 46 requires the state to promote with special care and the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections of the people and in particular of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and to protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. Article 330 and Article 332 of the Constitution respectively provides for reservation of seats in favor of the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes in the House of the People and in legislative assemblies of the states. Under Part 9 relating to panchayats and Part 9A of the Constitution relating to municipalities, reservation for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in local bodies has been envisaged and provided. Article 335 provides that the claims of the members of the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes shall be taken into consideration consistently with the maintenance of efficiency of administration in the making of appointments to services and posts in connection with the affairs of the union or of the state. Article 338 provides for a National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes with duties to investigate and monitor all matters relating to safeguards provided for them, to inquire into specific complaints and to participate and advise on the planning processes of their socio-economic development. Let us now try to understand the constitutional safeguards for scheduled tribes. The term scheduled tribe was first, it appeared in the Constitution of India as part of Article 366, Clause 25, which defined scheduled tribes as such tribes or tribal communities or parts of or groups within such tribes or tribal communities as are deemed under Article 342 to be scheduled tribes for the purpose of this constitution. Article 342 prescribes procedure to be followed in the matter of specification of scheduled tribes. The Constitution of India provides reservation for tribals in education, employment, legislature and judiciary. There are special schedules, which is the 5th and 6th schedule in Constitution, which deals with the governance of tribal areas. All these provisions were made so as to assimilate the tribals in the mainstream of Indian society. Let us now understand some of the specific safeguards as part of educational and cultural safeguards. Article 15 clause 4 says that special provisions for advancement of other backward classes, which includes scheduled tribes. Article 29 speaks about protection of interests of minorities, which includes scheduled tribes. Article 350 states right to conserve distinct language, script or culture and instruction in mother tongue. The social safeguards include Article 23, which talks about prohibition of traffic in human beings and beggar and other similar form of forced labor. Article 24 states forbidding child labor. There are also several economic safeguards. For instance, Article 244 clause 1 gives the provisions of 5th schedule, which shall apply to the administration and control of the scheduled areas, scheduled tribes in any state other than the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura, which are covered under the 6th schedule under clause 2 of the same article. Article 275 provides for grants in aid to specified states like scheduled tribes, which are covered under 5th and 6th schedules of the Constitution. The political safeguards, it talks about Article 164 clause 1, which provides for tribal affairs ministers in Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Orissa. Article 330 gives for reservation of seats for scheduled tribes in Lok Sabha. Article 337 talks about reservation of seats for scheduled tribes in state legislatures. Article 334 provides 10 years period for reservation and which has been amended several times to extend the period. Article 243 speaks about reservation of seats in panchayats. Article 371 also provides for special provisions in respect of northeastern states and Sikkim. Let us now try to understand what are the different national level welfare schemes for scheduled caste. As part of educational empowerment, various scholarships are provided to the students belonging to scheduled castes to ensure that education is not denied due to the poor financial condition of their families. These scholarships are provided at both pre-matric and post-matric levels. Scholarships are also provided to scheduled caste students for obtaining higher education in India and abroad, including premier educational institutions. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is the nodal ministry to oversee the interests of the scheduled caste. Though the primary responsibility for promotion of interests of scheduled castes rests with all the central ministries in the area of their operations and the state governments, the ministry complements their efforts by way of interventions in critical sectors through specifically tailored schemes. The Scheduled Caste Development Bureau of Ministry aims to promote the welfare of scheduled castes through their educational, economic and social empowerment. Efforts made by state governments and central ministries are protecting and promoting the interests of scheduled castes are also monitored. When we talk about Special Central Assistance SCA to Scheduled Caste Subplan, SCSP is a central scheme under which 100% grant is given to states, union territories as an additive to their Scheduled Caste Subplan. Special Component Plan and the Tribal Subplan were initiated by government as intervention strategies during 70s to cater exclusively to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes respectively. Such plans are meant to ensure benefit to these special groups by guaranteeing funds from all related development sectors both at state and center in proportion to size of their respective population. We also have National Scheduled Caste Finance and Development Corporation NSFDC, which is an institution under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, for financing, facilitating and mobilizing funds for the economic empowerment of persons belonging to scheduled caste families living below double the poverty line. NSFDC finances income generation schemes for target group through the state channelizing agencies SCAs nominated by respective states or union territory governments. NSFDC was set up by Government of India on 8th February 1989. It was incorporated as a fully owned government company under Section 8 of the Companies Act 2013. It has been assigned the task for financing, facilitating and mobilizing funds for the economic empowerment of persons living below double of the poverty line, which I just mentioned. There are also loan schemes for Safai Karmacharis which is provided through these initiatives. The various loans are educational loans, term loans, Mahila Adhikarita Yojana, Mahila Samriddhi Yojana, microcredit finance, sanitation workers rehabilitation schemes, etc. The Government of India has launched the Venture Capital Fund for scheduled castes with initial capital of rupees 200 crores. Under the scheme, financial assistance up to rupees 1500 crore for a period up to 6 years would be provided to the scheduled caste entrepreneurs. Green Business Scheme. NSFDC's Green Business Scheme for providing financial assistance has been launched keeping into concern for the climate change. Under this scheme, loan for unit cost up to rupees 1 lakh at concessional rate of interest will be provided to scheduled castes for activities such as e-rickshaw, solar pump and solar energy powered implements, poly houses, etc. There are several state level schemes for scheduled castes in Telangana. A number of initiatives have been made since the formation of the state for the socio-economic, educational development and welfare of scheduled castes, which let us now discuss briefly. With regard to educational programs, the government has taken up construction of integrated welfare hostel complexes IWHC for providing good amenities and superior facilities to hosteliers at a cost of rupees 1.68 crore per complex and with a capacity of 400 scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and backward caste boarders. Ananda Nilayams. The inmates of nearly 33 Anand Nilayams who are from orphan families and from families engaged in unclean occupations are provided all facilities on par with the boarders in social welfare hostels. At present, 183 college hostels are functioning in state with 11,391 students. Residential and non-residential scholarships to post-matric students belonging to scheduled castes are also granted. During the year 2014-15, an amount of rupees 199 crore was also released. Ambedkar Overseas Vidya Nidhi. To help the scheduled caste students pursue higher education in foreign universities, an assistance of rupees 10 lakh each is sanctioned to meritorious students. Telangana Social Welfare Residential Educational Institutions Society. There are 134 schools functioning under this society for students of class 5 to class 12 with nearly 71,493 students with English as medium of instruction. Seats are reserved for scheduled castes at 75%, converted Christians 12%, scheduled tribes 6%, backward castes 5% and other castes 2%. Reservation is also provided to children who are victims of worst human rights abuse and natural calamities. This society has evolved as an institution that specifically cares for girls with about 88 institutions, which comes to about 66% reserved for girls. The society has been pioneer in leveraging technology in administration, education and made rapid strides in achieving efficiency through technology. The academic progress of the students and teachers is monitored online through Student Academic Monitoring System. We also have SC sub plan, which is proposed to provide infrastructural facilities under this scheme and construction of 3 new complexes in SC constituencies of Alampur, Bellampalli and Manakondur, and construction of 8 new complexes in other constituencies. Construction of 5 new complexes to existing schools like Palwancha, Yellareddy, Asifabad, Rukmapur and Narayan Khed. The plan also supports construction of teacher capacity building center and a new school at Rayadurgam, Hyderabad and augmentation of infrastructure in 104 schools. Scheduled Caste Cooperative Finance Corporation Limited. The main objective of the corporation is to provide financial assistance for creation of income generating assets to the poor scheduled caste households for their social and economic development. SC action plans are prepared to assist maximum number of poor SC beneficiaries under various economic development schemes. There are also land purchase schemes of the Telangana government. The government of Telangana has launched this as a flagship program of land purchase scheme for the benefit of the poorest of the poor. SC women families specially. Under this program, the poorest of the poor SC women beneficiaries who are absolutely landless agricultural families, Bhumi Leni Nirupedalu are to be provided up to 3 acres of land in the first phase, and other SC beneficiaries having small pieces of land, that is half acre, 1 acre or 2 acres etc., to be provided with the balanced extent of land to make them landowners of 3 acres each in the next phases. A comprehensive package is envisaged to include provision of irrigation facilities, drip facilities, seed, cost of cultivation, fertilizers, pesticides, ploughing, micro irrigation, energization of pump sets etc., for one crop year, in addition to providing funds for land development, preparation of nursery and agricultural inputs. The amount for meeting the cost of cultivation is directly transferred into the beneficiary's account. The land purchase scheme is implemented with 100% subsidy and without any contribution from the beneficiaries, and also without bank linkages. The district collectors are given powers to purchase agricultural lands for the program at a cost ranging from rupees 2 lakhs to rupees 7 lakhs per acre in the 9 districts excluding Hyderabad of Telangana state. Dalit Bandhu, it is the latest flagship program of Telangana government, which envisions as a welfare scheme for empowering the Dalit families. Dalit Bandhu enables entrepreneurship among Dalits through a direct benefit transfer of rupees 10 lakh per family. This is going to be the biggest cash transfer scheme in the country. To promote Dalit entrepreneurship, the government has decided to start a system of reservation for Dalits in sectors where the government issues licenses. This includes wine shops, medical shops, fertilizers shops, rice mills etc. Apart from the monetary assistance, the government plans to create a corpus called Dalit Security Fund permanently to support the beneficiary in the event of any adversities. This fund will be managed by the district collector concerned along with the committee of beneficiaries. There are several national level welfare schemes for scheduled tribes. Let us discuss about them. In 1973, the Debar Commission created primitive tribal groups PTGs as a separate category who are less developed among the tribal groups. In 2006, the Government of India renamed the PTGs as particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PVTGs. PVTGs have some basic characteristics like they are mostly homogeneous with a small population, relatively physically isolated, social institutes cast in a simple mold, absence of written language, relatively simple technology and a very slow rate of change. The Constitution of India provides reservation for tribals in education, employment, legislature and judiciary. There are special schedules which we also have discussed in the beginning of the lesson, like 5th and 6th schedule in Constitution, which deals with the governance of tribal areas. All these provisions were made so as to assimilate the tribals in the mainstream of Indian society. The scheme for development of primitive vulnerable tribal groups PVTGs came into effect from 1st April 2008. The scheme defines PVTGs as most vulnerable among the scheduled tribes, and the scheme therefore seeks to prioritize their protection and development. It identifies 75 PVTGs The scheme seeks to adopt a holistic approach to socio-economic development of PVTGs and gives state governments flexibility in planning initiatives that are geared towards the specific socio-cultural imperatives of the specific groups at hand. Activities supported under the scheme include housing, land distribution, land development, agricultural development, cattle development, construction of link roads, installation of non-conventional sources of energy, social security, etc. Funds are made available only for activities essential for the survival, protection and development of PVTGs and not already funded by any other scheme of the central or state governments. Each state and Andaman and Nicobar Islands administration is required to prepare a long-term conservation cum development plan valid for a period of 5 years for each PVTG within its territory, outlining the initiatives it will undertake, financial planning for the same and the agencies charged with the responsibility of undertaking the same. The CCD plan is approved by an expert committee appointed by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. The scheme is then funded entirely by the central government. We also have Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. An act to prevent the commission of offences of atrocities against the members of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, to provide for special courts for the trial of such offences and for the relief and rehabilitation of the victims of such offences and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. The provision of Panchayat's extension to scheduled areas, PISA Act 1996, was enacted by Government of India to cover the scheduled areas which are not covered in the 73rd Amendment or Panchayati Raj Act of the Indian Constitution. It was enacted on 24 December 1996 to enable the Gram Sabhas to self-govern their natural resources. It is an act to provide for the extension of the provisions of Part 9 of the Constitution relating to panchayats to scheduled areas. The other welfare schemes for scheduled tribes include provision of top class education for scheduled tribe students, upgradation of merit of ST students, vocational training centers in tribal areas, national overseas scholarships for scheduled tribe students, Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship for scheduled tribe students, centrally sponsored schemes of hostels for scheduled tribe boys and scheduled tribe girls, establishment of ashram schools in tribal subplan areas, Eklavya model residential school, development of forest village, National Scheduled Tribes Finance and Development Corporation, Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India Limited, which is also called as TriFed. There is a very interesting scheme called as the Van Dhan scheme. It is an initiative of Ministry of Tribal Affairs and TriFed, which was launched on 14th April 2018 and seeks to improve tribal incomes through value addition of tribal products. The scheme is implemented through Ministry of Tribal Affairs as nodal department at the central level and TriFed as the nodal agency at the national level. At state level, the state nodal agency for MFPs and the district collectors are envisaged to play a pivot role in scheme implementation at the grassroots level. Locally, the Kendras are proposed to be managed by a managing committee, especially an SHG, which is a self-help group consisting of representatives of Van Dhan self-help groups in the cluster. One Bandhu Kalyan Yojana. The Government of India Ministry of Tribal Affairs has launched One Bandhu Kalyan Yojana for welfare of tribals. This Yojana aims at creating enabling environment for need-based and outcome-oriented holistic development of tribal people. This process envisages to ensure that all intended benefits of goods and services under various programs, schemes of central as well as state governments actually reach the target groups by convergence of resources through appropriate institutional mechanism. It covers all tribal people and all areas with tribal population across the country. The objectives are improving the quality of life in tribal areas, improving the quality of education, qualitative and sustainable employment for tribal families, and bridging infrastructure gaps with focus on quality, protection of tribal culture and heritage. There are also several tribal welfare programs in Telangana. There are 32 tribal groups living in the state, which include 4 particularly vulnerable tribal groups, earlier known as primitive tribal groups. They are Kondareddis, Chenchus, Kolams and Totis, living in Khammam, Mehboob-nagar, Nalgonda, Rangareddy and Adilabad districts of Telangana. The dominant tribal groups in the state are Lambadas, Koyas, Gonds and Yarukalas. The state government has initiated the construction of Komram Bhim KB complex, which is popularly known as Komram Bhim Memorial and Tribal Museum at Jodeghat village in Adilabad district, and developing it as a tribal cultural hub and tourism center. With reference to ashrama schools and hostels, the Tribal Welfare Department is maintaining 283 ashram schools with strength of about 85,843 scheduled tribe students and 212 hostels with strength of 40,763 and 101 post-matric hostels with strength of 20,100 students. Telangana Scheduled Tribe Cooperative Finance Corporation (TRICA) to benefit scheduled tribes who are below poverty line. Tribal Welfare Engineering Wing has been created for development of various infrastructural facilities, that is roadworks, buildings, drinking water schemes etc., as identified from time to time in tribal areas and villages. Girijan Cooperative Corporation Limited was established for socio-economic development of the agency tribals. Honey Processing Unit at Kamareddy, Nizamabad district, Soaps Production Unit at Nirmal, Adilabad district, Turmeric Powder Unit at Eturu Nagaram at Warangal district, Shampoo Manufacturing Unit at Kondanagula, Mehboob-nagar district are established for supply of quality products to the tribal welfare hostels and to the tribals. Construction of multi-commodity cold storages, society office buildings and multi-purpose DR depot cum NTFP storage godowns etc. are being taken up at a massive scale. Friends, let us now summarize this lesson. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribes have been provided various safeguards in the constitution to enable the upliftment of these marginalized communities. Significant efforts have been done by implementing various welfare schemes at national and state level. This has indeed brought change, but the magnitude has to be further strengthened. Thank you.